Hello, everyone. This is a man of Manetheren here, and I'll tell you what. Gray over at Wakasashi's Tea House did a video the other day where he read the passage in Fellowship of the Ring regarding the capture of the hobbits, the Barrow-wights, before their rescue by Tom Bombadil. And he read it with just such an enjoyable intensity. But I think Gray's hopped onto something quite important, which is that we need to stay within these books, really. Our dependence as a society on the visual medium needs to be balanced out. And especially when we come up against garbage shows like The Wheel of Time and The Rings of Power, it serves well for us to, again, return to those worded mediums to give us a wonderful respite in our seeking for escapism. And so I want to pose an idea out there to as many of you out there willing to take this up and willing to do it, that when you hear this, perhaps maybe you can read your own excerpt of a Tolkien classic, but especially on September 2nd, that I would love for a whole bunch of us in this community to rise up in a stance against Amazon and release a video of us reading another passage, and maybe perhaps even make it a regular type of reading, that we continually go back and continually read from the professor's work and just realize how wonderful it is to have such a story or stories before us. So, yep, my pipe has gone out. I'm going to put that to the side. My smoke rings are a tip to those of you who know of what the passage that I'm going to be reading. And this is going to come from The Hobbit in my nice little green bound version here with the nice little speckled edgings. But this is going to be with the unexpected party. And the dwarves are flummoxing Bilbo. And yet they still have the time after they wash the plates to sit down and have a pipe. And so I'm going to read a passage regarding that. And this is just after they get done singing that song about breaking the glasses and cracking the plates. And of course, it would be wise for me as an older and more wizened gentleman to actually see what I'm going to read. And of course they did none of these dreadful things, and everything was cleaned and put away, safe as quick as lightning. While the hobbit was turning round and round in the middle of the kitchen trying to see what they were doing, they went back and forth and found Thorin with his feet on the fender smoking a pipe. He was blowing the most enormous smoke rings, and wherever he told one to go, it went, up the chimney, or behind the clock on the mantelpiece, or under the table, or round and round the ceiling, but wherever it went it was not quick enough to escape Gandalf. He sent a smaller smoke ring from his short clay-straight pipe through each one of Thorin's. Then Gandalf's smoke ring would go green and come back to hover over the wizard's head. He had a cloud of them about him already, and in the dim light it made him look strange and sorcerous. Bilbo stood still and watched. He loved smoke rings. And then he blushed to think how proud he had been yesterday morning of the smoke rings that he had sent up the wind over the hill. "Now for some music," said Thorin. "Bring out the instruments." Keely and Feely rushed for their bags and brought back little fiddles. Dori, Nori, and Ori brought out flutes from somewhere inside their coats. Bomber produced a drum from the hall. Biffer and Boffer went out too, and came back with clarinets that they had left among the walking sticks. Dwalin and Balin said, "Excuse me, I left mine on the porch." "Just bring mine with you," said Thorin. And they came back with vials as big as themselves, with Thorin's harp wrapped in a green cloth. It was a beautiful golden harp, and when Thorin struck it, the music began all at once, so sudden and sweet that Bilbo forgot everything else, and was swept away into the dark lands under the strange moons, far over the water, and very far from the hobbit hole under the hill. The dark came into the room from the little window that opened in the side of the hill. The firelight flickered. It was April. And still they played on, while the shadow of Gandalf's beard wagged against the wall. The dark filled all the room, and the fire died down, and the shadows were lost, and they still played on. And suddenly first one and then another began to sing as they played, deep-throated singing of the dwarves in the deep places of their ancient homes. And this is like a fragment of their song, if it can be like their song without their music. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to seek the pale enchanted gold. The dwarves of yore made mighty spells, while hammers fell like ringing bells, in places deep where dark things sleep, in hollow halls beneath the fells. For ancient king and elvish lord, there many a gleaming golden hoard they shaped and wrought, in light they caught, to hide the gems on hilt of sword. On silver necklaces they strung the flowering stars, on crowns they hung the dragon fire in the twisted wire. They meshed the light of moon and sun. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to claim our long-forgotten gold. Goblets they carved there for themselves, and harps of gold where no man delves. There they lay long, and many a song was sung unheard by men or elves. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flaming spread, and the trees like torches blazed with light. The bells were ringing in the dale, and men looked up with faces pale. Then dragons' ire, more fierce than fire, laid low their towers and houses frail. The mountain smoked beneath the moon. The dwarves they heard the tramp of doom. They fled their hall to dying fall, beneath his feet, beneath the moon. Far over the misty mountains grim, to dungeons deep and caverns dim, we must away ere break of day, to win our harps and gold from him. And as they sang, the hobbit felt the love of beautiful things made by hands, and by cunning and by magic moving through him, a fierce and a jealous love, the desire of the hearts of dwarves. And then something tookish woke up inside him, and he wished to go see the great mountains, and hear the pine trees and the waterfalls, and explore the caves and wear a sword instead of a walking stick. He looked out of the window. The stars were out in a dark sky above the trees. He thought of the jewels of the dwarves shining in the dark caverns. Suddenly, in the wood beyond the water, a flame leapt up, probably somebody lighting a wood fire. And he thought of the plundering dragons settling on his quiet hill and kindling it all to flames. He shuddered, and very quickly he was plain Mr. Baggins of Bag End under Hill again. That is one of my favorite passages of The Hobbit that captures a very beautiful and evocative memory out of Bilbo, as well as during the song grabbing his imagination before he goes on his unexpected journey. It's a phenomenal passage, a phenomenal book, and then the sequel is that much more amazing. Anyway, what do you think of my idea? I think it'd be great for all of us to read Tolkien and put into video form those readings to tell Amazon that what they're producing is not worthy to be compared to what Tolkien has written in his books and what his son Christopher Tolkien so lovingly kept. But alas, we still have the books. And I think it would be great for us to sit there and just read a passage, each of us, and release it at least on September 2nd, if not more often, to just remind ourselves of what a great storyteller we've had in the past and what great storytellers we wish and hope to have in the future. Anyway, appreciate all your comments down below, and we will see you on the next video. Chagar Nevron, Taishar Manetherin.